I was watching TV when George, my roommate, suddenly blasted through the front door, falling over himself, looking behind him. I nearly dropped my dinner over my thick grey carpet. "What the fuck, George?" I shouted at him as I turned off the telly, annoyed as he'd ruined my chill time that I'd enjoyed for the last few hours. "Crap, oh crap," he said to himself, kicking the door shut as he stood up. This concerned me. George has always been fearless and would fight anybody, even guys that are double his size. He could be stupid at times, but he was never scared. "George, you okay?" I asked him, putting my dinner down and trying to work out what kind of situation he was in. He turned and ran straight past me to the kitchen. He grabbed a chair and jammed it under the front door handle. "What have you done this time?" I asked him. "Shh," he said furiously, looking at me with a concerned look on his face. "Turn out the lights," he said, whilst his breathing quickened. I walked quietly up to the switch, then clicked it off, shrouding us in darkness. "Can you tell me what the hell—" "Shh," he said again, his ear now pressed against the door. We stood in there awkwardly for a few minutes. He finally began to relax and let out a big sigh of relief as he sat on the sofa. I sat next to him, not saying a word. If he told me, that was up to him. "Firstly, if it sees you, don't panic and do not flinch. It knows what's prey and it will hunt you." "What the fuck are you on about? Who's after you?" "What's after me, not who." "Okay, so what the fuck's after you?" "I don't actually know. I saw it sitting in the woods. It was looking at me, so I looked back and thought it was a dumb prank, but then its head turned all the way round and its neck stayed in place. I panicked and flinched, then it lunged at me. I ran here as quick as I could." He reeked of rum, and I said, "You're drunk." "I'm not fucking joking." George was getting hot-headed now, and I knew I needed to calm him down. "That's what friends are for, right?" "Okay, sorry," I said. "Where were you?" "I was by the trail on the way back from the pub." "Okay, and what do we do now?" "I don't know. It was so fast, like a fucking cheetah. It didn't move like any animal or human. I don't know how I managed to outrun it." "Well, hopefully with the chair securing the door and it being quiet outside, we'll be safe in here." Hoping he'd chill out a little. "Fuck, okay, I need a drink," he said as he headed to the kitchen. He emerged with a can of Stella and turned the lights back on, taking a massive swig, then another, and burping loudly. Finally, he was back to himself again. "Sorry, I was being paranoid. It really freaked me out though," George says. Suddenly, he just stared at the black TV screen, his head looking straight forward. His arms were limp at his sides. "George!" I shouted. No reply. I looked at the spot where his gaze was and didn't see anything. But then I saw something move across the screen quickly, but I couldn't tell what the hell I'd just seen. Then I realized the thing was on the TV screen. The reflection was us, sitting on the couch. George's head began to turn unnaturally, the bones all snapping, flesh ripping apart and more bones protruding through the skin. It was looking at me. I was terrified and completely frozen. I could hardly feel my legs and I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs, but I stared at it as it stared at me. Then George got up and limped to the TV, blocking the screen, locking its eyes on mine. And then it started to lunge for me. Again and again, George had told me not to flinch. That's the only thing that was running through my mind. It opened its mouth, letting out an animalistic screech, trying to grab me, to make me flinch. Finally, after what seemed like hours, it looked as though it was weakening due to the amount of energy it used to get what it wanted. It started to back off and made George jump out of our 5th floor window. I knew it was gone once I heard a wet splat, but I didn't move for ages after as I was so freaked out. The next morning I went outside and saw George. His head was completely shattered. It gave me nightmares for years. I will never have a roommate again.